There are some things you don't realize are vanishing until they're already gone. Small rituals, everyday habits, moments so ordinary they felt like they'd last forever, but they didn't. If you grew up in 1960s Australia, you lived through a time that simply doesn't exist anymore. Not just the big stuff, the technology or the politics, but the little things. The routines that shaped your day, the unspoken rules everyone followed, the way life just worked. Today, we're looking back at 12 everyday things Australians did in the 60s that have disappeared completely, not evolved, not modernised, gone. And with them, a whole way of living. Number 1. Knowing every single neighbour on your street by name. This is the big one. The thing that defined life in the 60s more than anything else. You knew your neighbours, not just the ones next door, but up the street, around the corner, the whole bloody suburb. You knew their kids' names, their dogs' names, what time they left for work, who had a veggie garden, who made the best sponge cake. People looked out for each other. If you fell off your bike 3 houses down, someone's mum would patch you up and send you home. If your dad needed a hand, blokes would just appear, tools in hand, ready to help. Borrowing, sugar, eggs, a cup of milk, it happened constantly. Fences were low, gates were open, and people actually talked. Not just polite hellos, real conversations. Communities were tight, connected, alive. Today, we barely know who lives next door. We're all locked inside, heads down, in our phones, disconnected. We've built higher fences, both literal and metaphorical. And we've lost that sense of belonging, that feeling of being part of something bigger than ourselves. If you grew up in the 60s, you remember what that felt like. And you know, deep down, we'll never get it back. Number 2. Watching films at the drive-in on a Saturday night. Saturday night at the drive-in was magic. Your old man would pack the family into the car, maybe a Holden or a Falcon, and head out to the big outdoor screen. You'd pay at the gate, find a spot, hook that metal speaker onto the car window, and settle in. The sound was tinny, the picture wasn't great, but none of that mattered. Kids would sit on the roof of the car or spread a blanket on the ground. The snack bar sold hot dogs, chips, and soft drinks in paper cups. Between films, you'd stretch your legs, run around, throw a ball. The drive-in wasn't just about the movie. It was a whole experience, a social event, a family tradition. By the time the second feature started, most of the kids were asleep in the back seat. Parents would wake them up, pack everything, and head home under the stars. Drive-ins are almost extinct now. A handful remain, but they're relics. The magic's gone. Now we stream movies at home, alone, pausing whenever we want. Convenient, sure, but we lost something in the trade. Number 3. Buying loose biscuits from a tin at the corner store. The corner store was a different world. Behind the counter, rows of big glass jars and tins filled with loose biscuits. Iced Vovos, Scotch Fingers, Monte Carlos, milk arrowroot. You'd point to what you wanted, and the shopkeeper would scoop them into a brown paper bag, weigh them, and hand them over. No plastic packaging, no use-by dates, no barcodes. You bought what you needed, nothing more. It was personal. The shopkeeper knew you, knew your family, might even give you an extra biscuit if they liked you. Kids would go in with a few coins, their pockets jingling, and walk out with a bag of treats they'd ration on the way home, or more likely, devour before they even made it back. Everything was sold loose back then. Flour, sugar, tea, lollies. You brought your own containers, filled them up, paid by weight. There was almost no waste. Now everything's pre-packaged, wrapped in layers of plastic, designed for convenience and shelf life. We've gained efficiency but lost that personal touch, that connection to the people who sold us our food. Number 4. Cigarette vending machines in public places. Walk into any pub, RSL, or even a corner shop in the 60s, and you'd see them. Cigarette vending machines. No age checks, no questions asked. You'd shove in a few coins, pull a lever, and out would come a pack of smokes. Kids could buy them. And they did, sometimes for their parents, sometimes for themselves. Smoking wasn't seen as dangerous yet. It was normal, glamorous even. Doctors smoked, teachers smoked, pregnant women smoked. Ads showed healthy, happy people lighting up. It wasn't until the late 60s and 70s that the truth started coming out. Those vending machines disappeared, along with smoking on planes, in hospitals, in classrooms. It's wild to think about now how cavalier we were. But that was the reality. Everyone smoked, everywhere, all the time. The air in pubs and restaurants was thick with it, and nobody blinked. Number 5. Kids walking to school alone from age 5. This one's hard to imagine now, but in the 60s, 5-year-olds walked to school by themselves. No parents hovering, no car drop-offs, no one tracking their every move. You'd leave the house, walk down the street, maybe meet up with a mate along the way, and arrive at school. Nobody thought twice about it. The streets were safe, or at least we believed they were. Kids were independent because they had to be. Parents were working or busy at home, and it was just expected that you'd figure it out. You learned to navigate your neighbourhood, to be aware, to handle yourself. There was no bubble wrapping, no constant supervision. And sure, it wasn't always perfect. Kids got into scrapes, wandered off, got lost occasionally, but they learned resilience, problem-solving, confidence. Today, letting a young child walk to school alone would get you reported. We've traded independence for safety, freedom for control. Both have a cost. Number 6. Going to the bank during banking hours with a passbook. If you needed money, you went to the bank. Not an ATM, not an app, the actual bank. You'd stand in line during business hours, wait for a teller, and hand over your passbook, a little book that recorded every transaction. The teller would stamp it, update your balance, and hand it back. No cards, no PIN numbers, just a book and your signature. Banks closed at 3 in the afternoon and weren't open on weekends, so you had to plan. If you needed cash on Saturday, you withdrew it on Friday. If you forgot, you were stuck. There was no accessing your money outside of banking hours. It was frustrating, sure, but it also meant you thought about money differently. You couldn't impulse buy. You couldn't tap and go. You physically saw your balance, watched it go up and down, understood what you had. Managing money required discipline and planning. Now, money's invisible, just numbers on a screen. It's convenient, but we've lost that tangible connection to what we earn and spend. Number 7. Taking film to the chemist and waiting a week for your photos. Photography was precious. You had a roll of film in your camera, maybe 24 or 36 shots if you'd splurged. Every photo counted. You didn't take 50 pictures of the same thing, hoping one turned out. You framed the shot, held your breath, clicked, and hoped for the best. When the roll was full, you'd take it to the chemist. They'd send it off to be developed, and you'd wait. A week, sometimes longer. No instant gratification. No knowing if you'd even captured what you wanted. When the photos finally came back in a little paper envelope, you'd rip it open, eager and nervous. Sometimes they were perfect. Sometimes they were blurry, overexposed, heads cut off, but they were real. You'd put them in albums, write captions underneath, show them to visitors. Those photos were moments frozen in time, and they mattered because they were rare. Now we take hundreds of photos a day, store them on phones, and never look at them again. The magic's gone. Number 8. Having only 2 TV channels and watching whatever was on. There was no remote, no streaming, no choice, really. You had Channel 7 and Channel 9, and that was it. If you wanted to change the channel, someone had to get up and turn the dial on the set itself, usually the youngest kid. And if the picture went fuzzy, you'd adjust the rabbit ears on top of the TV, shifting them until it cleared up. Everyone watched the same shows because there was nothing else to watch. Graham Kennedy, Skippy, Homicide. If you missed an episode, you missed it. There was no recording, no catch-up. You had to be there, sitting in front of the telly at the exact time it aired. And when the test pattern came on at midnight, that was it. The broadcast day was over. Television wasn't background noise, it was an event. Families gathered around it, talked about what they watched, shared the experience. There was something unifying about that. Everyone at work or school had seen the same thing the night before. It gave people common ground, a shared culture. That's vanished now. We all watch different things on different devices at different times. We're more connected than ever, but somehow more isolated too. Number 9. Writing letters to stay in touch with family overseas. If you had relatives in England, Greece, Italy, or anywhere else, you wrote letters. Long, detailed letters on thin airmail paper, folded carefully, sealed in envelopes, with stamps that cost more than you wanted to pay. You'd sit down with a pen, tell them about your life, ask about theirs, and then wait, weeks, sometimes months, for a reply. There were no phone calls unless someone had died or gotten married. Those cost too much. No emails, no video chats, no instant messages. Just words on paper, traveling halfway across the world, you'd check the letterbox every day, hoping. And when a letter finally arrived, you'd rip it open, hungry for news, for connection. Those letters were treasures. People kept them in shoeboxes, tied with ribbon, reread them over and over. They were tangible proof that someone, somewhere, was thinking of you. Today, we fire off messages without thinking. But back then, every word mattered. Every letter was an event. Number 10. Shopping only during business hours because nothing was open at night. If you needed something from the shop, you had to plan ahead. Shops closed at 5 o'clock sharp on weekdays, 1 o'clock on Saturdays, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was open on Sundays. If you forgot to buy bread or milk, bad luck. You'd have to borrow from a neighbour or go without. Late night shopping was introduced toward the end of the 60s, and it was a massive deal. Thursday or Friday nights, shops might stay open until 9, and people treated it like an event. You'd go as a family, wander through the aisles, maybe grab a milkshake afterward. There was no 24/7 convenience. No jumping online to order something at midnight. Life ran on a schedule, and you adjusted to it. Sundays were sacred. Everything shut down. You spent the day with family, at church, at the park, or just at home. It forced you to slow down, to be present. And while it was inconvenient, there was something beautiful about a whole country pausing together. Number 11. Using a rotary phone that was attached to the wall. The phone in your house wasn't portable. It was bolted to the wall, usually in the hallway or the kitchen, and everyone could hear your conversation. No privacy, no scrolling while you talked, no texting. If you wanted to call someone, you'd pick up that heavy receiver, stick your finger in the little holes of the rotary dial, and spin it for each number. If you messed up halfway through, you had to start again. Long-distance calls cost a fortune, so you kept them short. And if someone was on the phone, that was it. You waited. No call waiting, no voicemail. You just sat there, annoyed, until they hung up. Kids weren't glued to phones because you couldn't be. The phone was a family tool, not a personal device. You'd stretch the curly cord as far as it would go if you wanted even a hint of privacy, but your mum could still hear every word from the kitchen. That phone was a portal to the outside world, but it was fixed, shared, and definitely not something you carried in your pocket. Number 12. Getting your milk delivered in glass bottles every morning. Before dawn broke, you'd hear it. The gentle clink of glass bottles on the front step. The milkman had been. He'd leave them there, fresh from the dairy, those beautiful glass bottles with the silver foil caps. If you were quick, you'd grab them before the magpies pecked through the foil or the sun warmed them too much. Your mum would bring them inside, and if you were lucky, there'd be a thick layer of cream sitting right at the top. You'd fight your siblings for that bit, perfect for your Wheat Bix. The milkman wasn't just dropping off bottles. He knew your family. He'd wave, have a chat, remember your dog's name. It was personal, reliable, part of the rhythm of the neighbourhood. By the end of the 60s, supermarkets were starting to take over, and slowly, The milk deliveries faded. Now, we buy our milk in plastic from a fridge in a shop, and that small connection, that daily ritual, it's gone forever. 12 everyday things that shaped our lives, and now they're gone. Some we don't miss, some we do, but they were ours. They made us who we are. Life wasn't perfect in the 60s. It was simpler, slower, more connected. We've gained so much since then. Convenience, technology, choice. But we've lost something too. The rituals, the patience, the human connection. So tell us, which of these do you miss the most? Which one would you bring back if you could? Drop your answer in the comments, mate. This has been Retro Australia, where the past never really leaves us.